continuing on with this concept of getting up each time you fall and applying that to musical performance. I've taught piano for 30 plus years and maybe a little more than that, and have coached and mentored many students through the process of learning a piece, practicing a piece, preparing for performance, reviewing, and the many stages of that it takes to take a piece from point zero to performing. And it's a wonderful career. I love teaching. I love working with children. I love working with teenagers and college students. And so obviously most of my teaching is in the university setting. I would like to just share a couple of stories that illustrate the getting up when we fall. So, and it's, who knows what it means to get up when you fall. I think a lot of students are really set on accuracy and getting a piece perfect, but they worry as much or more about just note accuracy than anything else. And there's so many factors to consider. So let me just tell a couple of stories. I'm leaving out names of students just to maintain privacy. So I had a student many years ago who, and as most piano teachers or music teachers do, we do as many recitals throughout the year as possible. And this was one of these recitals, and I've done it in various places here around St. George. And we were in my parents' home, and I've done many recitals in their home. They have a beautiful living room area and a Yamaha grand piano, and the setting is just very lovely. So we were preparing for this recital, and I had a student who was pretty nervous about performing from memory, and many students are, so you can't really tell from the story who, and students worry about that. And I, as a teacher, as I have taught through the years, and one of the things that I work on really hard with students is how to memorize and how to do that, and it's very useful. But I also, especially in my later years in my career, have tried to take the pressure of memorizing off and focus more on the music and the beauty of the music and sharing our gifts with our families and friends. So one student was very nervous about performing from memory, and we talked about it and talked about it was okay to use the music, and but she is very driven, and I love that about her. She works very hard and sets goals and would come into lessons and was very communicative about where she was, and I really had so much respect for her. And every student is different, and so we had talked about the nerves, we talked about memory preparation and worked so hard for that. And the night of the recital, when it was her turn, she sat down, and she fairly early on in her performance had a complete memory block, and that was painful for her. It was painful for me to watch. It was just family, mostly family and friend, maybe a few friends. So I don't remember all the details as it was quite a long time ago. But my parents have a beautiful living room. They also have the house is on a few different levels. And so I took her downstairs. We got a family member, and I did a pep talk. I told everyone to hang on a second, and then I actually had the recital keep continuing on, and she was devastated. So, especially when you work so hard, and she was consistent, and again, worked hard, did everything, all the practice tips, all the memory tips, and everything, and so that's devastating. So I'm thinking of this little story that I just paraphrased about the boy in the race. And so this wonderful student, again, was devastated. But I had this family member give a pep talk to her while I went back up and kept the recital going. I searched through the music in the house and found the piece that she was playing, and we had to do a pep talk about it is just fine to perform with music. And we talked about music and how it's more important to give the gift of music than it is to get up there and perform from memory. So at some point she agreed. We brought her back in and she performed, and it was beautiful. It was just wonderful. And I can say in all honesty, there wasn't one person in that room that was judgmental and thought to themselves, well, she's not playing from memory. I think everybody in that room was just thrilled that she came back in, sat down at the piano, and played beautifully this wonderful piece, and had the music up there, and it was just great. It was fine. One reason I think this is so important is back when I was a young girl, in my family there's 12 children, and we all took, or many of us took, swimming lessons every summer. And one summer, I don't remember the specifics, but I know my older sister and I took diving lessons. And if back in that day, I only probably did a forward dive, and that's the only thing I could ever do. And these lessons, it was a class, and we were on the diving boards. I don't remember a whole lot about the class. I do remember that on the very last day, the families were invited to come watch and see what we'd done for how many ever weeks it was. When it was my turn, I know they'd worked on my forward dive, and they also taught me a back dive. So when it was my turn, one of the dives I was going to demonstrate was the back dive. And I got all ready, and I don't remember even being all that nervous, but I was getting ready, and all of a sudden I had slipped a little bit, and so I was going into the water, and my back kind of hit the diving board, and so I landed in the water, and I was bleeding. So they helped me out, and that was devastating. I was absolutely devastated. And I wish, and that, everybody was kind of coddling me. I think I was maybe 8 or 9. And if I had to do that over again, I would have wanted the teacher to put me up on that diving board and make me do that dive again. Because even to this day, all the years growing up, the thought of trying to do a back dive is just more than I can muster. And so I can do forward dives, and that's the extent of where my diving went. But I've always remembered that, and so when a student has a traumatic event with performing, like I did with my diving, I think it's very important to get up and keep going. Another student in some kind of a competition once, again, same thing, had a memory block, complete memory block, and toward the end of the piece. And she looked at me and she kind of indicated, I can't do this. We're done. And she was just going to get up and walk out. And I somehow went over and talked to her, and I said, let's just, and I think I brought the music out for her and said, let's just finish this. And using music in that type of a competition kind of you have to cut your losses. But so she did, and I felt a little like I was being a controlling coach, if you will. But I felt it was so important to help her finish and not have the memory block and then just get up and walk out. And so she did. She finished. And I don't know what is the right thing. My purpose in doing these series of videos on performing and getting through performance and playing through mistakes is to give just various options. So again, let's get up each time we fall, and as a teacher, encourage our students that even when things don't go the way we want, we can do it, and it is just as important to finish that race as it is how we race. So let's go ahead and get finished and get up each time we fall.